What's going on YouTube? Super Insane 18 here, and I'm coming at you with a post-Banlist Tri-Brigade deck profile, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, so kicking things off, we are going to start with 3 of the best extender, and that is going to be Rescue Cat. This card is essentially just a replacement for the Zodiac engine. People were playing it in the pure deck all along anyway, but it really is just a great card. It gets you into your full combo, and even going turn 2, it's a little more susceptible to hand traps, but it does let you go into Zeus the same way that any of the Zodiac monsters would let you do as well. Then we have 3 copies of Nerval, only 2 copies of Karis, 3 copies of Kit, and 3 copies of Fractal. This is pretty basic. The only thing is some people are running 3 Karis. I don't really think that 3 Karis is necessary. It feels like a little bit overkill. So those are the ratios that I think are the best moving forward. Now, we do have a very heavy hand trap count. We are playing 3 copies of Psy-framegear Gamma and, of course, the driver. Then we have 2 copies of Effect Veiler, 2 copies of Ghost Bell, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and finally the 1 copy of Nibiru. Now, we are running these ratios mostly for Crossout Designator, which you will see later on in the profile, but it also is just very good to have a high number of hand traps in this deck because that's pretty much what you do. You have a bunch of 1-card starters that just end you on a little bit of a board, and you stop your opponent with your hand traps mostly. So, moving on to the spells, we have 2 1-ofs. We still play Called by the Grave, and then obviously our 1 Tenki. This is the biggest hit that this deck took during the list. I don't think the Zodiac hit really mattered. I talked a little bit about that in my Banlist Winners and Losers video, so go ahead and check that out if you want a little bit more in depth. Then we do play 3 copies of Crossout Designator. I do not have these yet as the tins do not come out until October 1st, but since the list doesn't take effect until October 1st as well, we are going to include them in the deck profile. Then we have 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. This is mostly just a consistency card. A lot of people are really divisive whether or not you should play Prosperity or Desires. I personally think Prosperity is better because I just don't like banishing 10. It feels like way too steep of a cost. I would much rather banish 3 to 6 cards from my extra deck that I know I'm not necessarily going to need in order to dig further. Onto the traps, we are playing 1 copy of Imperial Order, and we only have 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Revolt. Now, this was mostly just to make space, but honestly, I really don't think that 3 copies is necessary. You really usually, more often than not, only need to resolve 1 in order to win the game, and the fact that you can search it with an extra deck monster, it's very easily accessible, so 3 feels like overkill, and playing 2 just lets you have at least 1 that you can maybe cross out Designator in the mirror match, and then 1 more that you can use. And finishing up the main deck, we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, and these just kind of fall into the hand trap lineup. Really good cards just to kind of stunt your opponent. You can end on, like a board of Appaloosa with this set and a bunch of other things. So there you guys have it for the main deck. Now, before moving on to the extra deck, there is 1 card that I really want to play, but I just can't seem to find the room, and I really don't want to go above 40, and that card is Solemn Strike. I really think that Solemn Strike has a very important place in this deck, and I was playing it before the list, but with the list, things needed to change, obviously. So the only thing that I can maybe see cutting is 1 copy of Ash Blossom, maybe 1 copy of Psy-framegear Gamma, and maybe the Called by the Grave, but I just feel like all of those are so much more important, even though Solemn Strike is a very important card. So it's just kind of hit or miss. It is something that I really want to run, I just can't figure out the spots to do so. Now, moving on to the extra deck, we are playing 1 copy of Psy-frame Lord Omega. This is just for the Gamma package. If you get hand trapped and you Gamma your opponent, you can rip another card out with Omega, and it does provide you a little bit of sustainability for further turns, since it will continue to come back, leaving you with a 2800 beater every time. Then we have a small Zeus package with Sky Cavalry Centaura, Downward Magician, and Zeus itself. This is essentially the new way into Zeus without the Zeus. And I say new like people weren't already playing it, but people have been playing this for a couple months now. This card is actually really cool. It can't be destroyed by battle as long as it has material, so if you're okay taking a little bit of damage if you're swinging into something a little higher just to make a Zeus, then, I mean, it's kind of free. I would definitely sacrifice a couple hundred life points for it. Onto the links, we are playing 1 copy of Salamangreat Armorage, 1 copy of Double Dragon Lords, 1 copy of Desperate Doom Eagle, And then the big ones are Access Code Talker and Appaloosa. This is really what you just use to swing for game. This is what you're mostly going to end your turn 1 combo on. And onto the Tri-Brigade specific Link monsters, we are playing 1 copy of Bearbrum. I did want to play 2, but I felt the Downard was just a little bit more important. 2 copies of Friedrich. Friedrich is a way to chain block this as well as get additional special summons during your turn. 1 copy of Rugal, and rounding things off, we have 2 copies of Shureg. I really don't think that you need a 3. I know that a lot of people want to play 3 so that they have the luxury of going into 1 on their first turn, linking it away and getting another search, but I think you can still do that, because like I said during the main deck, you really only ever need to resolve 1 revolt in order to win your game. So I think 2 is perfectly fine, but I mean, if you want to play a 3rd, you can definitely do so. I'm just not sure what I personally would cut in order to do that. And there you guys have it. That is my post-list Tri-Brigade deck profile. A little bit of a short video, but got everything that I needed to say out there, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and if you want to see the side deck, go ahead and check out my Patreon. It will be available on the lowest tier, which is only $1, and it would greatly help support the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.